Hey friends, welcome back to the Life of a Makeup Artist podcast. If you have not gone on to our YouTube yet to see our visual episodes, don't forget you can log on and see all of our past episodes. And today I'm very excited because we have none other than Fatima Thomas, otherwise known as Fatima C's, because you've had that handle for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so excited because we'll get into all of it, but I have been looking up to Fatima for years since the beginning of my career. But before we get into all the good details, Fatima, how are you?
I'm great. Hey, everyone out there watching and listening.
Okay,
How
so
are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy. You don't even understand.
Because we've been trying to get together for a minute.
While,
Yeah.
right. So I'm very excited that we actually, made this happen. But before we get into all the things, I would love to have you introduce yourself to your new friends.
Sure. I am Fatima Thomas. I'm a makeup artist and I'm a senior artist at MAC Cosmetics. I've been with the brand for now, this is 26 and a half years. I started in 1997. I've worn a lot of different hats at MAC, including, retail artist at the counter. I've been a trainer. I've been a training manager. I've been a director of training for a little while in the Southeast. I've been a senior artist for about 18 years. What is this? Yeah, I started this position, my current position, in 2004. And it's been 19 years now. Yep.
After a while, you're just like, I have no idea. I can't keep track of time.
Yeah, I have to look at the years and do the math. Like, wait,
Right.
20, 21. Yep.
So, Fatima, I don't know. I'm sure you know. Well, I don't know if you know this, but you've been such an inspiration to me because when I first started, for the long-time listeners, they know that I actually worked for MAC for 5 years and I started in Trinidad. And my first time ever seeing you was during basic and all our updates. So Mac would do these updates where they will tell us what the upcoming trends were, and they'll have all the videos of the senior artists, and was not only obviously seeing your skill but also seeing another Black woman in the space. So I had no idea, never met her ever in my life. So to be sitting here with you today, I'm kind of fangirling or whatever. And okay, so before the senior artist and at MAC and all the things, like I want to know how you got your start, because you didn't just come into makeup just like that. How did you get your start?
Well, how I got my real start was my mom and my dad met and fell in love. That's how I really got
Taking
my
it way
start.
back.
And then they had me. I grew up in Georgia and Michigan. I was born in Michigan. We moved to Georgia when I was still a kid. And I was always an art kid. I always loved to draw, to paint, to make things, arts, crafts. That was always my deal. And I thought I was going to be a fashion designer.
Really?
Yeah, I loved fashion. I did a lot of, as a high schooler, I did a lot of fashion illustration training and stuff like that. So I thought, I want to be a fashion designer. And I always loved makeup from the time I was a little tiny tot. I would sneak and get into my mother's makeup and play and do my face and stuff.
Did you get in trouble, or she?
No, and she always knew I was doing it. She told me many years later that she knew I was in there sneaking around, but she said, you were so good at it that I didn't want to stop you. And I was like, really? Because I would see Lena Horne and Diana Ross on TV. And so I wanted to make myself, and Donna Summer. So I was trying to do those looks. And I realized when I saw Lena Horne, Lena Horne has a very, very distinguished and distinct face. And I was fascinated with her nose because she had a naturally sort of pinched looking nose. So I would take brown eyeshadow when I was about 5 years old and put it on my nose.
Not you contour that.
Yes. And then I learned many years later that is actually a makeup technique called contouring. I was like, okay, I was doing that, trying to make myself look like Lena Horne, but always an art kid. In the late 80s, when I graduated from high school, I entered the Atlanta College of Art, which is at the time was the oldest private four-year arts institution in the Southeast. Very, very good school. It was absorbed into the Savannah College of Art, which is also a great school, maybe about 10, 15 years ago. But I went to the Atlanta College of Art and I studied painting and printmaking. And anybody out there who, if you've gone to art school, just like with any other college or university, when you're a freshman and a sophomore, there are foundation classes that you have to take. So took my foundation classes, and then I focused on my major. I didn't finish. I dropped out for a while because I was burnt out from
Right.
going to school and working. And I ended up making a pivot into makeup artistry, which was the best thing that could have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you made that pivot, were you just like, oh, maybe I should try this? Like, how did you
No,
decide that you were just gonna do makeup?
it was the elephant in the room, me doing makeup. So I was the person in my friend group
Mm-hmm.
that always kept up with beauty trends and makeup products and loved to buy makeup. I was always buying new things and practicing and doing things on myself. And a friend of mine actually brought it to my attention because I was going to head back to college and finish up. And I thought, well, maybe I'll change my major and I'll go to a different college or university.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, you could do that, but why don't you do makeup instead? And I was like, oh, yeah, that is a job. Like, people do makeup on films and
Right.
commercials, and people do makeup for fashion shows and for celebrities and in salons for clients. Like, makeup is
Right.
everywhere, but it
Right.
wasn't at that time.
Like a
Makeup
big career
artistry
choice.
wasn't a very visible career. It
Right.
existed, and if you knew, you knew, but it wasn't a visible career to the average person the way it is now. So
Right.
if you told someone then that you were a makeup artist, they just kind of looked at you like, "What?
Right.
Like what?" And I had that experience a lot. And people go, "Well, how do you do that? Like, how do you make money doing that?" And you're like, "Well, you work on a TV commercial.
Right.
You see your favorite hair relaxer or hair color or product that has a woman's picture on it and she's made up. Someone got paid to do her makeup for that photo shoot
Right.
for that product."
Right.
And people will go, "Oh, I never thought of that." So it was a very
Right.
kind of hidden in plain sight
Right.
career, but now it isn't, which is great.
Right. So, a lot has changed in the industry since you started at Mac in 1997. Like, what are your thoughts on the current state of beauty? Because obviously a lot has changed since then.
The only thing that doesn't change is that things are going to change.
Right.
So I think it's easy, especially when you're at a certain stage in your life, you can look back. You actually get old enough to have a little bit of a retrospective and look back on a lot of things that you've experienced and witnessed. But what you realize is that things are constantly changing.
Right.
And I think the industry is, we just came out of a 3-year pandemic
Right.
that slowed everything down, from manufacturing to product availability on shelves. I mean, things are just starting to get really good and loose and rolling again. Things are
Right.
still picking up momentum, but there's a lot of recovery, I think, that still is happening
Right.
that from the slowdown of the pandemic. So, I think it's the industry is now more inclusive. We
Yeah.
still have work to do. And to young people out there listening, inclusion, when it happens, it's not going to just happen and then be cemented and stay that way.
Right.
We're going to always have to keep our eye on inclusion.
Right.
And we're going to always have to not take our eye off the ball and be vigilant
Right.
about making sure that these industries that are once really were exclusionary to people of color, now more of us are in the industry. Don't gatekeep. Make sure you open space and usher in and mentor the people coming up behind you.
Yep.
If you have a good career, you're going to matriculate. You're not going to stay in the same place
Right.
your entire career.
Right.
You should become a master makeup artist or a master, whatever you become, and then like a leader or a mentor to others so that other people coming up can now occupy those spaces that you have moved on from.
Right.
And that's the way that you can continue to make sure that diversity and inclusion and representation continues to matter and is respected.
Right.
It's not going to just automatically self-propel.
Right.
It happened because people pushed it forward.
Right.
Because we live in a construct that doesn't naturally support it.
Right.
So now that we have it happening, it has to be maintained.
Right.
And it's up to all of us to make sure that we, in our own way,
Right.
do what you can to make sure that it's maintained
Yeah.
and stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we look around us and we look at the world, when we lose a sense of history, when you don't know where you came from, when you don't know the history of why you're standing on a certain
Right.
street or platform doing what you do, when you don't understand that other people sacrificed or didn't get to do it but fought for it,
Right.
you can lose it.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight for it from scratch all over again. So if
Right.
we don't want to always have to keep going back to fight from scratch,
Right.
you have to understand history and where things have come from before your time,
Right.
understand what you can do in your time, and then what can happen in the future. But
Right.
you got to keep your eye on it.
Yeah. I mean, we can't expect change without being part of it.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So, what has been ingrained in me, obviously, because I started my career with Mac, is all ages, all races, all sexes,
And
and
now it's all genders.
all genders.
hmm
And, this was not the case many years ago, especially with Viva Glam and seeing RuPaul. What was your experience seeing like history be made in front of your eyes during that time? I mean, that I believe that started in 94. I can't remember the exact year with RuPaul. Was it? I can't remember the exact
So
year, but
RuPaul was our first Viva Glam spokesperson, and RuPaul came in, um, and it was in the mid '90s, and to have a drag queen as a spokesperson
right,
was really a thing. It was really
right,
bombastic. So again, when we talk about where you are now, understanding how you got there,
right,
nowadays most of us wouldn't flinch if we had one of our favorite drag stars be
right,
a spokesperson for a brand or for a product.
right.
That was really um, maverick back then.
Yeah,
And there were people who protested it, in some areas of the country, and that's fine because that's always going to happen. Max credo that you said, all races, all ages, all
genders.
genders, that's been the ethos that the brand was built on. And that was really maverick in its time because you didn't have brands that had that ethos even in their product lineup.
Yeah,
So, you could go to certain brands and you might be able to buy a lipstick or a gloss, but if you were darker than me, like if you were light brown or deeper, you couldn't buy a foundation because they
right,
didn't have you.
right,
So maybe you bought your foundation from one brand. But I have this thing. I'm like, if you don't sell me my skin tone in a foundation, I'm not
no,
buying color from you.
yeah,
Because if you don't sell me my skin tone, that you're telling me that I don't exist
right,
and you don't see me. So why should I support your existence with my hard-earned dollars
right,
to buy a lipstick or an eyeshadow?
right,
But yeah, Mac, you know, we the people who started this brand, Frank and Frank, that's Frank Angelo, Frank Toscan, it was very important to them to have a brand that was inclusive of all people and all skin tones and all lifestyles and all styles. And they created that, and that's been the brand's ethos. And I think a lot of people since then have worked really hard to protect and solidify that ethos. So it was great. It was great. It was the kind of brand that you will walk up to a Mac counter, and old heads out there who used to shop at Mac, no, you could walk up to a Mac counter, you could see a guy with his face pierced all over and tattoos. Then you could see a girl that looked like she stepped out of an R&B video.
right,
Then you could see someone who had a retro vibe. We just allowed people to be themselves,
right,
and we hired people for talent,
yeah,
for their talent and abilities, and like, be yourself, just wear a black outfit.
right,
Right. So that it was great. I'm glad that it's normalized, becoming more normalized now that brands are more inclusive in their range of colors and their range of foundation skin tones that they offer. That's how it should be. That's how it always should have been.
right,
But I am really proud that Mac really ushered that in. And now it's pretty standard.
right,
And I know there's a lot of young people out there that are coming into adulthood now. And you got the benefit of having so many options, so many brands. I remember
yeah,
one year in the last decade, there were like 300 new brands had popped up in one year. That's
wow,
steroidal growth, right? So that's a lot. But we came from a time where you had way fewer brands, you
right,
had way fewer options, and if you were a person of color, even fewer.
right,
So I'm glad that Mac was there to help usher in a new way to look at how to be a company,
Right.
and how to have a makeup line that includes everybody.
Right.
And I'm glad that it's the norm now, because it should be. It really should be.
Right. Mac really was the pioneer with that. And I think that I do think that a lot of brands are still behind, but at least it's much, much better now.
Hmm.
Now, I came up with this thing, right? I told myself if I pretend not to like a product, it might not get discontinued, because as soon as I fall in love with something, it gets discontinued. And I know you probably hear that all the time, but what are some of your like most missed products that Mac made in the past?
Uh, I miss duck eyeliner, because I used to wear that every day. It was a taupe color.
Mm-hmm.
I also miss taupe liner. Taupe was
Yes.
great. There are not a lot of things that
Right.
I miss that much. I found a way to move on. I think people, you have an emotional connection to your
Right.
product because it's something that really works for you
Right.
and it becomes a staple.
Right.
And then if it's discontinued, it feels like we did it to you personally.
Right.
There are a myriad reasons why products get
Right.
discontinued. And it's not always because the product doesn't sell, but a lot of times, if a product gets discontinued, quite often it's because no one's buying it anymore.
Right.
The trend has changed, and that
Right.
might be why people aren't buying it.
Right.
And it's not a color that's super in favor or popular right now.
Right.
So it's sort of just sitting there.
Right.
And there's no need to manufacture more of it when you can't sell what you have. So it
Right.
gets discontinued. But there are other reasons that products get discontinued too. So we have this body in our government called the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration,
Mhm.
and they're constantly updating ingredients,
Oh, yeah.
ingredient listings for what's safe,
Mm-hmm.
for what can be allowed to be, to be used on the face. There are certain pigments that you can use on the mouth that they may not suggest that you use on the eye, and vice versa. There are
Right.
pigments you can use on the eye that aren't suggested for use on the mouth. And there are all types of regulations and different things that companies have to follow. And when you're a large company, like a big brand,
Mm-hmm.
you can't hide.
Right.
Small brands can go fly under the radar and use ingredients that may be, questionable, or they don't have that eye on them. But when you're a
Right.
bigger company and you have bigger distribution, you have more risk to protect. So
Right.
there are lots of reasons, I know, but if you love something, reach out to the company that makes it and tell them that you love it,
Right.
because they listen.
Yeah.
And maybe they can't bring it back exactly like it was before, but
Right.
maybe if they hear enough people want it,
Yeah.
they'll bring it back. But ultimately, we all vote with our dollars when we buy stuff. So
Right.
if you're the only person that's buying it,
You gotta buy all of that.
then and no one else is really buying it, or
Right.
there's a niche of people that buy it,
Right.
that's and that's not enough to keep it alive.
Right.
Sometimes products go away.
Yeah. Do you have any particular collections that really stuck with you? Mine was Alluring Aquatic. The blue, I mean, I know there's so many, but you remember the packaging, and it looked like it had water droplets on
Yeah.
there. That was just so
Yeah.
beautiful.
I've seen so many MAC collections over 26 and a half years. One that stands out to me that was really beautiful and the visuals were really stunning was the Barbie collection.
Oh yeah.
That was a great one. That one's memorable. I can probably talk more about some of my favorite must-have products.
Yeah.
So speaking of a discontinued product, I am a lover of our Lightful Softening Lotion, and it was discontinued. And I went and bought every piece that I could find. So I have enough to probably last me for the next few years.
Is there anything comparable now?
I haven't found anything within the brand or outside of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it because it has these great ingredients, and some vitamin C, and I just love how it makes my skin feel. So, but some of my favorite products at MAC, I'd rather talk about products that I use all
right
the
now.
time, that they just deliver results for
Yeah.
me. Prep and Prime Lip.
Yes.
It is like double stick tape to your lipstick. If you wear lipstick, whether it's MAC lipstick or other brands, it's just going to make your lipstick that much more lit. It's going to
Right.
look better. It's going to wear better. You'll have little to no feathering, bleeding.
Right.
For someone who has to talk for a living and do a lot of presentations,
Mhm.
If I'm wearing lipstick, I always put it underneath because I know it's going to keep my lips looking good
Right.
if I'm in a situation where I don't get to touch up as often.
Right.
That's one of my like desert island MAC picks. This new serumizer, our Hyper Real serumizer, I
Yes.
use it
Hyperreal is
every
nice.
day, whether I wear makeup or not. I put my Lightful softening lotion on first to get my skin damp,
So
and then I
wait,
put my
the
serumizer on
lightful
top.
that had the kind of iridescent packaging, right? Yeah.
It had the holographic.
Yeah, the
Yep.
holographic, yeah.
Some people out there listening probably know Lightful softening lotion, and they're probably like, "Yeah, moment of
I'm like,
silence."
damn, I should have
Yeah,
I should have
it
stopped
was a
over
good
this.
product, and I love the new serumizer,
Mm-hmm.
and I have good skin, but I love how it makes my skin look and feel, and I love that I can wear makeup over it and it doesn't do weird stuff under my makeup.
Like peeling up, yeah.
Yeah, no peeling and that weird like noodly.
Right.
I've been using it a few months before it was launched.
Mm-hmm.
Someone I know in PD gave me a bottle, like say, hey, use it. Let me know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And I started using it and I am now converted. It's a
Right.
daily thing. So that's in my top 5. Fix Plus.
Oh yeah, I actually
Gotta
have a
have
Fix
Fix
Plus
Plus.
question I'm gonna get into soon.
Mhm.
And then what will be the last one?
What's another one, a must have for me? Mm, let me think.
I'm so
This is
basic.
when I
I'm
have to
like
choose.
chestnut.
Cork, pencil. I love chestnut. I'm a little lighter. My lip line is a little
Right.
lighter. I wear chestnut with deeper colors or I blend it out, but cork.
Yeah.
Cork is my go-to because it looks kind of like my natural lip line.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so I want to talk about, I want to get into a bit of artistry.
hmm
And I know you just spoke about like Lightful and, Fix Plus and stuff. What are some of the things that you always do to prep the skin? Because, if you go onto maccosmetics.com, Fatima's work is all over it. And of course, you work with celebrity talent and, you do a lot of education. What are some of
hmm
the things you do on set to always make sure that that skin looks delicious?
You know what's great now? And I was saying this, I was in a casting recently. We were doing a casting for some upcoming projects. And all the models that I saw that came in, their skin was plump and juicy. And I said, you know what's great about this era of social media? That people are really becoming more savvy and educated about skincare.
Yeah.
Gone are the days when clients and models come in and you're looking at them and you're like, oh, they're so dehydrated.
Right.
Everybody is hydrated now. Everybody's got their serums and their oils and they
Right.
look juicy and plump. So it's great because people are really into their skincare now. And it's really nice to see more and more guys
Right.
start to take skincare more seriously because skin is not gendered. Everybody has skin. And
Exactly.
if you don't, you got you got big problems. You probably aren't alive. But I'm seeing the benefit of people learning
Mhm.
about skincare and new products and about layering and taking better care of their skin and what the current sort of super ingredients and trendy
Mhm.
super ingredients are. I'm seeing the results of that
Right.
when I see people walk down the street and in a casting and on a shoot. Models are showing up. We
Right.
would be backstage. Girls
And you're
show
like,
up, it's
girl.
dry, flaky. No, did you moisturize this morning? No.
Right.
Now girls are showing up, they're like, oh, I already have skincare. And you're like,
Right.
okay.
Right.
So the thing I like to do is really analyze and take a good look at the skin, clean my hands and feel and see if
Right.
there's any dryness. And then I go from there. Then I think about what look we're creating,
Mhm.
what type of skin finish versus what that person's skin needs
Mhm.
to get balanced and to get prepped. And then
Mhm.
I make the choices.
Right.
So
So there is a big misconception that Fix Plus, and this happened a lot when I worked on counter, that Fix Plus is a setting spray. And we all know that it is very much a multi-functional product. Can we clear that up once and for all?
think of Fix Plus spray. I know some people think of it as a setting spray. It depends on what kinds of products you use it with.
Right.
I like to think of it more broadly as a finishing spray.
Right.
But you also don't just have to use it at the finish. You can use it all along. It's really a hydrating spray.
Right.
So you can use Fix Plus to dampen your skin and then get it ready to
Mhm.
receive all of your serums and skincare. You can use it once your makeup is done to sort of finish and settle. I'll tell you why we developed Fix Plus, because
Mhm.
this, I think, is a story that a lot of people don't know. So, Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation,
Mhm.
which is still an OG iconic foundation, I'm wearing it right now.
The best.
It gives you levels of coverage. You can brush it on and get it sheer and veil like, but then you can take the sponge and really build it up. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, Studio Fix was really popular. Still is, but it was super popular then because everyone wanted to look
Right.
matte. The
Right.
look was to be a little bit more matte then, or kind of natural matte.
Right.
So when that natural matte finish trend started to change and people started to want things that looked a little bit softer and more skin like, people still wanted to use their Studio Fix. So if you prep your skin a certain way, you can still use Studio Fix and it can warm up nicely,
Mhm.
but it may take several minutes of wear for it to start to absorb
Right.
some of your skin's excess oils and settle down. So we wanted to give Studio Fix wearers a way that they could finish off their Studio Fix application and kind of warm it up
Right.
and speed that warm up process. So
Right.
you didn't have to wait 10 or 15 minutes, but you could spray something on it that gave it moisture
Help it
and
melt into
helped
the
it
skin.
melt into the skin faster.
Right.
That's why we created Fix Plus. And then we artists at Mac, because we're always finding new ways to, artists, we love to hack into products and
Right.
find new ways to use them. We found like about 1,000 other ways that we like to use Fix Plus,
Right.
including prepping the skin and wetting your eyeshadow brush. So if you want a setting spray that you can spray on that creates a sort of protective, long wearing barrier over your finished look and keeps it on longer, then you would use Fix Plus Stay Over.
Right.
That's the one in the white bottle with the pink writing. You always want to shake that one up too, because the
Right.
ingredients, those good active ingredients, you need to shake them up. It
Right.
also doesn't have alcohol, because a lot of setting sprays have alcohol and they flash off, and that can be drying for
And
some
then you're
skin
like
types.
coughing a ton when
Mhm.
you spray it on.
Original Fix Plus, think of it as sort of a multi-purpose. It's like a glass of water for your skin.
Right.
You just need a little more hydration on your flight. Your
Right.
skin is feeling tight and dry on your trip. You're at the beach, you feel a little tight, mist yourself with Fix Plus.
Right.
You want to give your finished makeup a more lived in, melted in look,
Right.
then finish it up with Fix Plus. You just washed your face, you want something that's kind of like a toner to get your skin dampened and hydrated, and then put your other skincare products on top. Fix Plus.
Right. How would you use it if you have a client or model that has a particularly like dry areas at the sides of the
And it's a
nose?
hydrating, it
Yeah.
hydrates. You can use it anywhere. It's got glycerin in it. It's got some botanicals. I think it has green tea and cucumber
Cucumber.
extract.
Yes.
So it feels soothing.
Right.
And the main ingredient is water,
Right.
the essence of hydration. So you could use it anywhere, anytime.
Right. So would you put it on like a cotton or anything? And
No, I'd spray it right on.
right.
Just spray it on. But if somebody's dry, you gotta maybe exfoliate them
Right.
and remove the dry, scaly skin, so
Right.
that, because it's done. That skin is done. But the fresher skin cells underneath are the ones that'll benefit from the moisture. So
Right.
if you need to exfoliate, you need to exfoliate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went to school in Atlanta for art, and I would love for you to share what you think artists could be doing right now to strengthen their skills. Maybe it's not particularly going to full-blown art school, but what do you think is a valuable
So
tool?
when we say artists, we mean
Specifically
specifically
makeup
makeup
artists.
artist.
Yes.
You know, don't get your entire education from Instagram or TikTok. Consider taking some courses taught by other makeup artists. I know there are a lot of makeup artists that will do tours and from time to time teach big courses,
Right.
and they'll teach their method. And learn from other artists, but also it's super important to learn your foundational, your basic primary skill sets.
Right.
You got to know color theory.
Yep.
You have to know it. Um, do you need to be an expert at it? I think every artist should be an expert at color theory, because every painter I know and every designer I know is an expert at color theory. So
Right.
why shouldn't every makeup artist be? Because we're working with color.
Right.
We're working with pigment. You want to match skin, you want to correct skin, you got to know color theory.
Right.
Um, and I think a lot of younger artists that I see, they see other artists doing things and they see it working, but they don't understand why it works.
Right.
So understanding why something works is important. But I would go, I would broaden my sources of inspiration, and get into a couple of books. Don't just get everything off of social media.
Right.
You got some great resources out there, but the education you get is only as rich as the person's knowledge who's sharing it with you.
Right.
And there are a lot of great books out there, a lot of great resources, and look to some makeup artists who have been doing this for a long time.
Right.
Not just for likes,
Right.
not just for comments, not just on the social media platforms, but seek out some artists who have been doing this on movies and
Right.
backstage for decades.
Right.
Because trust me, we know where the bodies are buried. We
Right.
know every situation you could run into with makeup,
You've
we've
done
run
to
into
it.
it and we've had to figure it out and conquer it. And we've worked on every skin tone and every type of feature, every type of eye or lip. So broaden your sources, I
Right.
think is really important. As an art student, I mean, I've been drawing since I was a little kid, and my parents always encouraged me because they saw that talent. And so any art supply that I ever wanted, they would get from me. So I've
Right.
always been drawing and painting, but they would also get me not just the supplies, they would get me books, art instruction books.
Wow.
So they would buy me books like how to draw the human face or how to draw bodies, or
Right.
I had a book on how to draw horses.
Oh,
They would
wow.
get me books that showed you step by step how you look at something and break it down into shapes, different geometric shapes, and then connect those together to draw a horse.
Right.
So I had the supplies, but I also had things to practice.
Right.
And practice is important too as a makeup artist. You practice the things you don't feel comfortable with. The things you feel comfortable with, you already practice. That's why you feel comfortable. And
Right.
people run away from the stuff that's uncomfortable, but then that's the stuff you don't get good at.
Right.
And that's the stuff that when you come to work backstage, that's the stuff that catches you.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that
Then you gotta
trips you up.
send. No, Fatima gotta send you back and bring you.
Or
come
someone
back.
else,
Yeah.
someone not as nice as me, because we've seen lots of things happen in fashion week. You can get your makeup completely wiped off, but you live to come back and
And you just do
work
it again.
another day.
Yeah.
You suck it up and you're like, ugh, you come back another
Right.
day.
You go home and
Yeah.
you're like, do I even know how to do makeup? We've all had those days, I feel
And you
like.
do, because it's not always about whether you know how to do makeup. Sometimes it's about other things,
Right.
in that arena. But I think artists could really do themselves a favor and study color theory. Take a course.
Mhm.
If you got a college or community college or art school near you, if they're offering color theory courses, take a course, learn your color theory.
Right.
Because color theory is to any kind of creative artistry what arithmetic is to a scientist.
Right.
You can't balance a complex equation to figure out how to send a person into space. You have to know basic math, right?
Right.
To know higher math.
Right.
You have to know color theory to know how to balance, design,
Right.
and utilize color.
Right.
You got to know it. And you have to know it like the back of your hand.
Right.
Like 1 + 1 is 2.
Right.
You should know color theory that well.
Right. And honestly, that's why, besides, working for the brand or whatever, that's why I loved Mac, because you seeing chromographic, I'm like, what is this? Like, remember obviously you remember, but the pro store that closed down on 22nd,
Mhm.
it's like you go in there, you're like, you seeing all these colors, chromographic pencils, the paints. It was just like, you kind of got, you were like, what is this? Because at first I didn't know about all that stuff. Obviously,
So Mac Pro
came from Mac.
The Mac Pro was many things. It's a product lineup, but it was also a studio space, a store, and a culture, right? And a community. But Mac Pro product was meant to offer makeup artists the same types of color choices that fine artists can get when they go in an art supply
Right.
store. And that's why we had all of those colors. So primary yellow and cyan and magenta, if I go
Mm.
to any of my art supply stores, I can find those colors because they
Right.
allow me now to have a range of primaries and colors that I can from which I can mix and make any color I
Right.
desire or can imagine. And we wanted to expand those capabilities by offering that to makeup artists and body painters and
Right.
performers.
Right.
So that was what you saw when you went into Mac Pro. You know, if you go into an art store, you're going to find a colored pencil in a Marine Ultra, you can find a
Ugh,
paint in
I
Marine
love
Ultra.
Marine.
It's we wanted to have that same type
Right.
of thing at Mac Pro where you had this line of different products, 4 or 5 different products, but you can find that same color in
Hmm.
each product because it made it easier to design and do certain products, especially if you think about people who do makeup for stage
Hmm.
or who do body painting and you need a consistency in tone and color.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any particular part of makeup that is your favorite to do? Like, do you love, I mean, you don't have to have one, but for me, I love doing skin. Some people love eyes, some people love like lips. Do you have a particular, like, ugh, I could just do this?
I probably love doing eyes the most and doing graphic liner and
Right.
graphic statements.
Right.
Some of the most fun and some of my most proud moments have been with the line Chromat.
Oh my God.
The
Yeah.
designer and the creative director there is Becca Macharan Tran, a friend of mine, and she's just amazingly creative, and she also has an amazing sense for color.
Right.
And we started to work together over a decade ago, and she always comes with great concept and a
Hmm.
story and even some great visuals to say, I'm thinking of something that feels like this, Fatima. And then just lets me run loose and tries a couple of things. But we quite often at that show would do something graphic.
Hmm.
And, uh, you know, I, I don't know. It just kind of became my thing.
Right.
So I really like doing graphic liner. It's stressful sometimes.
You're like, why do I like to do this? I'm stressing my whole life out.
Well, it makes me when I have to do those things,
Right.
I get real focused and I get real quiet inside and I can block everything out.
Right.
I can put myself in a bubble,
Right.
like a pretend bubble, and I can just draw. And I like the challenge of doing something that's graphic and clean and having to get it symmetrical because you got to do another eye. So
Right.
how do I
Right.
like that challenge because it's also very fulfilling when you get it. And I've learned to not panic if I mess up
Hmm.
because you're going to mess up. You
Right. So
just
when
take your
you're doing
tiny Q-tip.
when you're trying to do a symmetrical eye, do you do like a little bit here, a little bit there, or you're
That's the best way to
completing?
do it. No, the best
Okay.
way to do it is to go back and forth from each eye.
Right.
You do one thing on one eye, you do it on the other. It's a lot harder to complete an eye and then try to make the other one match it
Right.
perfectly. It's a lot easier to break it down into steps, pieces, or stages
Hmm.
and do each step on each eye and go back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do have another question about artistry.
Mhm.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time at Mac, and products obviously evolve, things get discontinued. How involved are you with like the product development and like because obviously you're the one using the product. So how is there any kind of correlation to like what you would recommend
Yeah.
to what products we
Yeah.
see?
So I work on a team of senior artists.
Hmm.
There's a handful of us, and there are a few of us who get to interface with our marketing and our product development people
Hmm.
in our global corporate offices because they understand that we are master makeup artists
Right.
and we're also product mavens. Like we love makeup. We
Right.
still go out and buy competitive product and look at what's new. I mean, and I've always told myself the day that I stop caring about product is the day I'll probably just move on to something else or find some because then I know
Right.
that like the affair is over, the love affair is over. But they know that they respect our artistry, they respect our skill, they respect our tenure in the industry and our experience and
Right.
our talent. So of course, a lot of times they want us to they send us things, hey, try this out. What do you think? And we'll give our thoughts and feedback. We may be asked, what do you think about the color lineup? What's missing, what do we need to add, what do you think about? So yeah, we love to offer our insights Now, we will offer them, and they're quite often heard and considered,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of,
Other
between a
factors, yeah.
product landing on a shelf, between the inception idea of the product and it being on a shelf,
Right.
there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of people involved.
And all the
So,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different discussions that happen in a
Yeah.
lot of different rooms. So, you know, I'm happy that I get to share my insights and my
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, not just as a makeup artist, but as a lady who loves makeup and wears makeup and likes to
Right.
keep up with what's going on out there now. What's the hot new thing? And
Right.
what are some interesting colors we can do? Sometimes I think we come up with some great ideas that will really magnify something,
Right.
and people may love it, but later on down the line, it might get rejected.
Right.
You just, and for a lot of reasons. So maybe they only want to launch 10 shades,
Right.
and you know originally it could have been 15 shades, but
Right.
5 had to be cut for
Right.
certain reasons. And so there's a lot of things that have to go on. There's a lot of negotiating and things that happen. But yeah, I do get to interface with PD and
Mm.
marketing. They do come to us for our ideas, our insights, our feedback. We get products to test and try out. And all of us are very honest about, we have honest dialogues and relationships about those products that we test.
Right.
So we don't ever really sugarcoat.
Right.
That doesn't mean a product might not get launched just because some of us might not love it or see some things about it. The product, there's a lot, we're not the end all be all. There are a lot
Right.
of other opinions and other testing that goes into it, but we will give our thoughts and
Right.
share insights as much as we are, invited to.
Okay. So one of my friends texted me the other day and she was like, you need this studio. Is it Studio Fix pen? The new pen?
The studio, why did I just
What's
draw a
the-
blank on the name?
We'll
You
put it
can look
here.
it up. You
Yeah.
can look it up for the exact name. I just literally, but we call it the Pen Foundation.
Right.
Because at MAC,
Basically.
we have a lot of products that they have their official government name, but then we have
Right.
the nickname for it. So it's the Pen Foundation. It's great. It's waterproof.
Yeah. Every day, everywhere, all over face pen.
All over face pen. That's right.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
tried the new powders, but I haven't tried the face pen yet, and the
If
new
you
bronzers.
if you like the studio, if you like the Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation, if you like that one, which I do, I love it.
I mean, in Trinidad, that was one of our best selling.
Yes, because it's not a game.
Yeah.
It really is
Yeah.
waterproof, but it looks like skin. If you
Right.
like that one, then you'll like the pen. They're kind of they're related.
Okay.
They're related. They're like sisters. Yep. I like the pen. I still haven't gotten. Do I have a set? I do have a set. I like that mechanism that lets you control the amount of product, because sometimes I think we overuse products. We get too much product out, or
Right.
you squeeze too much out and you only use half of it and you've wasted some. I think the pen makes you very judicious with how much product you're going
Right.
to use. I think it's a really neat, ingenious delivery system.
Right.
And it's specific. It lets you really target areas easily. So I like the pen. I love the formula though.
Yeah,
really love the
I can't. I'm
formula.
gonna try it because I'm a complexion girl. I love just
Mhm.
a little bit of, and the new bronzers that too looks so
Love.
good. I mean,
Now, speaking of working
refined
with
golden.
PD and marketing, one of my colleagues who used to be in our PD department, I worked with her. She worked on those bronzers for a few years. I mean, the pandemic kind of slowed it down because
Right.
she was working on it before the pandemic.
Mhm.
And I would see her in the office. She'd be like, "Come by my desk. I want to show you these." And she would, we would talk about these bronzers and like, what do they need to be? What do we need for deeper skin tones?
Right.
So I got to be a part of helping usher in that. And she did a lot of hard work on it. Thanks, Marina. And those bronzers are amazing. I told her, I love this formula. It feels so creamy and silky. I love the bronzers. I've had them for about 9 months before everybody else could get your hands on them. And I've been using my dark golden one for I was like, this is the bronzer I've been wanting in my life. So I love those bronzers.
Okay. So my list is getting longer and longer. So what are some things you're looking forward to? Just in life in general.
The beach this summer, being lit, turning up, going out dancing, looking
Picnics.
cute,
We had a quick, cute picnics
picnics,
last
um,
summer.
dating, meeting
Mm,
I feel that
spicy.
that's not spicy. That's a part of life.
I mean, it could be.
I feel that my person, my significant person is probably very, very close
Uh-huh.
to crossing my path. I like going to the beach and just being by the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
spending time with friends. After 3 years of not having the freedom
Mm-hmm.
that we once had before, I think coming out of the pandemic, if it didn't make you really grateful to be back into the world and to have your ability to connect and do things,
Right.
if you aren't embracing that, then I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. But
Right.
being in the house for almost 3 years and or being very limited for 3 years, it made me really want to get out here and like, let me enjoy my life.
Right. I'm outside.
Yeah, outside. I'm just looking forward to outside. I'm looking for, what else am I looking forward to?
Not Fashion Week.
I I I have a mixed like an ambivalence. A part of me looks forward to it because I know I'm going to see you and other makeup artist friends and we'll get to connect. But it's
It's a
hard.
lot of
It's
work.
hard. It's intense. It's demanding,
Mm-hmm.
and it can really kick your butt. And I do look forward to, it's our spring training for makeup.
Right.
You get to resharpen your skills, put your
Right.
skills to the test, and really
Right. The show
sharpen
that I
yourself.
assisted you, I remember that look. I can't. This is so long ago. I think it was Oh gosh, what was the designer? Gypsy Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's Rio. He's out in LA.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was such a
So
good show.
yeah. So yeah, I don't really look forward to is not how I would describe Fashion Week, but I get myself prepared for it.
Right.
But this summer, I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun and enjoying my people, my family, my friends, and just really attracting and maintaining the kinds of relationships with and people and situations and experiences that resonate with me now.
Right.
I think the universe really is reflective, and I think what you think about is what you attract.
Yeah.
And and so I'm thinking positive. I'm like, I want good things, and we all deserve good things.
Yeah.
And you gotta really lean into that and embrace that. So yeah, ice cream. I look forward to having a little scoop of ice cream every now and then. And I love Central Park. I love walking through the park. Just having a good time and enjoying my
Yeah.
summer. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I
Come
love
what
that.
may.
I love that for you. I want to spend more time in the park too. I'm like, just get a book and just go.
I go to the park several times a week because I go to Equinox
Mhm.
Gym. So I go to the sports club,
Mm-hmm.
and I can pass, if I decide to walk to the gym, I can walk through the park. But a lot of times when I leave the gym, just to kind of cool off, I'll hop over to the park and walk up
Right.
town. So living so close to Central Park, I take advantage of it.
Right.
I get there as much as I can, but I make sure I wear my insect repellent because the mosquitoes love me.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for making time.
thank you for
I
having me.
so
Thank
appreciate
for
you. If
watching
you
and
don't
listening.
know, now you know. Fatima is an OG. She knows her stuff, and we absolutely love her over here. So,
And the
Fatima,
love is mutual.
oh my God, thank you. Can
Thank
you
you for
tell
having
us?
me.
Thank you. Can you tell us how to connect with you on social?
Sure. I am not on TikTok, so don't look for me there. I am on Instagram. My handle is Fatima Sees. That's FatimaSees. Say hello. Drop me a DM. Say hi. If you have any questions about Mac product, I'm a Mac maven, and I can help you get answers to those not problems, but those questions. But I'm there. So say hello, follow if you want, and yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll make sure that we put all of her info in the show notes. And again, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys. Thank you.
was awesome.
Appreciate you so much.